Welcome, everyone. This is Bud Wassell, and thanks for joining me for our monthly Mindfulness Refresher webinar. And I am going to shamelessly use some of the information from the Emotional Intelligence workshop that we had yesterday. If you're on that, you'll recognize a little bit of this. But of course, I'm going to also kind of adapt it in a mindfulness framework. And we'll do a couple of exercises around the emotions. And, you know, if you've been in some of the classes, I know a lot of you have, we do some things already on emotions. But that talk yesterday made me realize that we really need to do more, more on emotional awareness and emotional regulation, emotional language about how we talk about our emotions and define them. And, you know, I love the, just the simple thing that he did, and we all know this, like when you see somebody and you say, how are you feeling? How are you doing? And the usual response is, what? The usual response, oh, I'm fine, I'm doing okay, I'm doing well. But that's not always the case, is it? So, sometimes we're not doing so well. Sometimes we're feeling quite, like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm feeling a little bit scattered this morning. Just got a lot going on, and I tried to get this all together. And so we'll do a little grounding thing. We'll do a little 3-minute breathing space, kind of an exercise to get us going. But anyway, if you did see that emotional intelligence workshop that we did yesterday, it was great with Mark Brackett. He's the founder and director of that center at Yale University. And that was recorded, so you'll be able to see that once we get it posted on the Integrative Medicine website through the Yale Cancer Center. Okay, so I do have a lot to cover, I think. So let's start with a 3-minute mindfulness check. And this is based on the 3-minute breathing space. And I use this because part of it does, as we check in with ourselves, ask yourself, how are you feeling? And so really do that. And so we're going to, as you see, we're going to be checking in with thoughts, feelings, and body sensations. So, really kind of try to uncover how it is that you're feeling. So first step is we just stop. This, by the way, can be done anytime, just sort of as a practice, a real quick practice. And but it can also be done in response to a stressor. So first thing is stop when you realize that you're feeling stressed or you're having feelings, perhaps that are difficult feelings, and ask yourself what's going on right now. Just checking in with the internal weather. What's going on right now? What are you thinking? Notice thoughts. Just be aware of thoughts as they come and go. Don't have to fix them or do anything about them, just being aware of thoughts passing through the open sky of our awareness. And then turning to emotions or feelings. Often they are linked with thoughts. So in the same way, just being aware of what emotions are here right now. Checking in with yourself. And again, you don't have to do anything about them. You don't have to fix them or engage with them. Just notice. And then as the third step, notice what's going on in the body. What sensations are present? Maybe they are connected with these thoughts and emotions. So just noticing in the same way what's here right now in the body, whether it be tension or relaxation or anything in between. Tightness or holding. Sometimes if you really look, you can see, well, oh yeah, I'm holding a lot of tension in my shoulders and upper back. So just if you do, you can let that relax if you like. All right, so then we come to our breathing and just spend a moment or so paying attention to our breath so that we use the breath to come back to presence. So feeling each breath, just really paying attention to the sensations of this one breath. And reminding yourself anytime the mind wanders, that's quite all right. That's what our minds do. They have thoughts that hijack our attention. So just bring your focus back to your breathing whenever that happens. Allow yourself to rest and relax in the breath, in the body, right here and now. And then as a final step, just expand and broaden your awareness so that you are more aware of your entire body, the whole body breathing. And again, noticing any tension or discomfort, and just you can breathe into that area to soften and relax. And then just make an intention to bring this expanded or this quality of awareness with you to the next part of your day. Okay, so how was that as a quick, sort of a grounding exercise? How was that for you? Any comments? We've done that before. And you can use the chat feature. Feel free to do that. Feel free to speak up. I'm going to actually stop my video since I'm recording this. All right, so we'll move on. So as I mentioned, we're going to focus on our emotions. I'm going to ask for your feedback on this too. So there are a couple of chats there, so it's always great to reset. Yes, I had a bit of revelation about some things I've been thinking about, had to stop and take some notes. Oh, okay, that's good. It's always nice to have those revelations. Was that somebody who was saying something? I can barely hear you. I'm not sure if it's my end or your end. My speaker is a little low. Let me turn that up. Try it again. Well, I don't hear you. Make sure you're not muted. And if it's not coming across, you can use the chat feature. So sorry about that. So yeah, type that in if you will. Okay, so when I asked you how you were feeling, just checking in with your feelings, and you know, if we all do this, it'll be kind of fun. It's like we did yesterday in the workshop. Just what's the feeling? And I'm going to give you this slide here to pick from, or just anything that comes to mind, or anything that you were aware of when we did that exercise. And then going to the next slide, this is something I came across on this whiteboardpsychology.com site that is specific to healthcare workers, you know, because we're kind of in a different situation. Even if we're not on the front lines, I think we still feel it a bit more acutely. And so these are particular feelings related to dealing with COVID-19 and the way things are in healthcare right now, which are, you know, pretty much in an upheaval. So how are you feeling? Anyone? Give me a little feedback. What's going on? What's the prominent feeling right now? Okay, a couple in the chat. Hopeful, some foreboding, definitely exhaustion. Yeah, those are great, three great ones right off the bat to kind of summarize. Anxious, yep, that's another biggie. some big meetings later today to prepare for. Well, thanks for taking the time to do this. Exhaustion is really a big one in a lot of the groups that I've been talking to, for sure. And the foreboding and anxiety are also huge, because we just don't know, obviously. So I think it's important to recognize that. And as Mark said in the talk yesterday, to really get specific about how we're feeling. And you might try this. I'm going to give you a tool or two to do this as we go along. But I'm glad someone put in hope, because, you know, it's not all negative. There's the positive side of the spectrum as well. And we can change our, you know, feelings, and by looking at our thoughts and mindfully paying attention to them. So that's important. And it's important, if we try to keep an optimistic attitude, keep that hope at maybe the light at the end of the tunnel. So we also have some new comments here. That's great. Several feelings. Yeah, that's important to note, that we often have mixed or a range of feelings going on. Very good point. And remind myself to focus on things we can control, and things outside our control helps to buffer negative feelings. Yeah, that's a good comment. And by the way, what's the one thing you have control over? Your mind. And that's one of the great benefits of mindfulness training. The more you do it, the more you really have control of your awareness. And as you've heard in some of the classes, you know, being aware of thoughts that trigger things, the automatic and conditioned thought patterns, which are tied right into the emotional reactions that we have. So yeah, great comment. Exhaustion, hope, and foreboding. Yeah, go lives coming. Oh, okay, missing work friends. Yeah, we don't have the same connections that we used to have. We've got a lot going on in our lives. So again, if you were on the workshop yesterday, one of the points was that if feeling really overwhelmed, sometimes we have to try to take things off our plate if that's possible. So do that if you can. So great comments. Thank you for those. And going to move on to the next slide, which we get into some of his work at the Center for Emotional Intelligence in a moment. But the general advice is to acknowledge your feelings, to be aware of them. And again, I think that's what mindfulness training is good about. When we first start mindfulness practice and meditating, we become aware, wow, I'm having a lot of thoughts, and I'm having a lot of feelings as well. Or you might become more aware of what's going on in your emotional life. So again, as he said, it's helpful to put a label on this, and we'll talk about this in just a minute on his ruler thing. But first thing I want to say is acknowledge them, label them. These are all excellent mindfulness practices. Just being aware of them, not glossing over them, not stuffing them, just letting them come to the surface. And even if they're anxiety or sadness or depression or anger or something like that, that gives us a chance to do this. And this is from Center for Emotional Intelligence. This is not their graphic. It's my poor attempt at just talking about the ruler, which is really a great acronym. So again, recognizing the emotion, understanding the cause of it, understanding, you know, your emotion and others' emotions, trying to get to that level, and labeling it, just simply trying to get a better language for labeling the range of feelings. I'm going to show you something that he showed us in just a minute. And then being able to express it more appropriately or accurately, so that people, well, first of all, so that you understand where you're coming from, and so that other people understand where you're coming from. And that all really leads to regulation. And so we can learn to regulate our moods and really, in effect, have more control over them. So that's a pretty good outcome of that whole thing, right? So I'll attach this whole slide thing to the invite later. You can go back and download it. So you'll have some of the links. This is one link that he mentioned, moodmeter.com. I'm going to actually bring it up so that you can see it, because it's kind of a neat, it's an app, and I'll show you just a little bit. This is, so coming up here, he had this great graph that he had these 4 colors on: the red, the yellow, the blue, and the green. And to a degree, you can sort of see it on the that thing that's scrolling through on the phone. It'll come up again, the 4 quadrants. And so the red are emotions that are unpleasant but high in energy: anger, frustration, and anxiety. Yellow emotions are pleasant and high in energy: excitement, joy, and elation. Blue emotions are unpleasant and low in energy: boredom, sadness, and despair. Green are pleasant and low in energy: tranquility, serenity, and satisfaction. So that's one way to kind of begin to categorize how we're feeling, okay? Just to kind of show you, go over to this page here on it. So, and this talks about the things I just mentioned on the ruler a little bit, but you can get all this. I'm not sure if this is a free app. I haven't checked it out. I'm going to, but just wanted to point that out. This is moodmeter.com. And again, it is from the Center for Emotional Intelligence, which there's Mark Brackett and one of his colleagues, Robin Stern. So just to kind of point that out. So let me go back to the slides. Any questions about that while I go back to my slides? Great resources. We're going to hopefully be doing more on this as it applies to the workplace, because a lot of questions that came up yesterday in the workshop had to do with, well, it's not easy to express our emotions and really be genuine about them to our boss or to coworkers, or when things are tense. You know, think about it when things are really busy and tense. Oh, good. Somebody just said, yeah, it's 99 cents. Thank you. It's not bad. Can afford that. All right. So moving on, you know, this is another tool that I've talked about in some of the classes, just to remind you about, called RAIN. And this can be an actual meditation. There is a link on our website, the EFR website, that has RAIN. But it's a simple exercise, really, and it goes back to, again, just simply recognizing what it is that you're feeling, or what's going on. It might have to do with thoughts as well. And the A is kind of important, because we do tend to want to get away from unpleasant things. So the A is to allow it, to allow life to be as it is, to allow things in the moment to be as they are. And when we do the meditation, towards the end, you'll sort of see how I built that into that. That can then let you investigate your inner experience. We want to do that with kindness. We don't want to do that with a critical mind. So sometimes the inner critic comes up and you're saying to yourself, well, I shouldn't feel that way, or why did they do that to me, or why did I react that way, or, you know, kind of questioning yourself. The investigation is more about trying to be self-compassionate and to try to give yourself a break, and to be the inner coach instead of the inner critic. Thinking about what you might say to a good friend or a loved one in that situation. The N is the result of all that. The N is not identifying with, in other words, getting really wrapped up into that whole story. You can remove yourself, you can step back from it. That's the non-identification. Or if you prefer, you can think of it as a nurturing way to treat yourself. Treat yourself as you're reacting to that, well, really so that you can respond rather than react to the situation. So here's a good question. How do you allow without detaching from issues or feelings? Yeah, that's a very good question. And so let me just say that I think it takes practice. So some of these exercises, you'll notice part of the practice is in the allowing part of it is to see if you can step back. without getting wrapped up or caught up in the story. So I think it's a little bit of a skill that can be developed. So doing the RAIN exercise, doing that 3-minute breathing space, there is both a thought and an emotion meditation, again, on the EFR website. Towards the end, I have a slide that has a link to that. So the attitude of accepting and letting go are probably two of the more difficult ones. But with practice, I think you'll see that you can learn to let go or let be, if you prefer, some of these things, so that we don't get caught up in them. I think the thought meditations are a great one too, because often we realize that, you know, our thoughts are mental events that come up, and they are not necessarily facts. You know, there are representation in our minds about what's happening. So we learn to try to view them impartially and step back from them. You can use a visualization like almost as if you're sitting in a movie theater and watching your thoughts and your emotions scroll across on the screen. And you're back watching them in the seats as that observer. You don't have to get caught up in the story. So, you know, try that. All right. So I wanted to do a quick grounding exercise. And this is a brief meditation. So get into a comfortable position and sitting relatively upright with your feet flat on the floor. You do really want to feel grounded for this. So feet on the floor, body in the chair solidly is a good position to be in, and just have a nice posture that's easy and relaxed, but also where you can be alert. And so just simply start by feeling that sense of groundedness. So bring your attention down to your feet and really feel the connection your feet make with the ground. That sense of touch and connection. You can even almost imagine roots growing out of your feet, really rooting yourself in the earth. And now bringing your awareness up through the body, the legs, up into the buttocks and the lower torso, sitting in your chair. Again, feel that sense of connection to the chair supporting you. Just explore that. It's that sense of touch and connection and being grounded in the chair, almost like you're a sitting mountain in the chair. Or you can think of your body as like a tree, a tall, strong oak tree that is rooted but can also sway in the wind. And just feel, kind of become that strong rooted oak tree, grounded, stable, but flexible. And then just breathe. As you're anchoring yourself, just breathe and notice what thoughts and feelings arise that kind of come up. So just allow them to be. Don't necessarily focus just on the breath. Just keep your awareness open so that you can just be noticing any thoughts and feelings that arise and capture your attention. And as they do, see if you can just sort of touch them in the sense of, you could sort of say, you could label them. Oh, there's a little bit of anxiety, or there's a thought about that presentation later or that meeting later. Just touch it, let it go, and then try to notice the next thing that arises. And if you do feel like you get caught up in it, you can always come back to your breathing, which is our anchor, or you can come back to the feeling of your feet on the ground or your butt in the chair. Okay, that's a great way to kind of re-anchor yourself if you feel you're getting caught up in the thought or the feeling. And just see if you can bring that attitude of acceptance, accepting it as it is, just being with it, just seeing if you can allow it to be there, just being curious about how it shows up in the body, perhaps. Do you notice some sort of sensation that's associated with it, perhaps in the chest or the belly or the shoulders or the face or the hands? Just let it be and just be curious about it. Look at it with beginner's mind. And then as a final step, root yourself again, ground yourself again. Feel the feet on the ground, feel your breath, and send yourself a message of compassion, a message of caring, a message of kindness as you just let it happen. Whatever that message is, it might be something like, it's okay, I can be with this. I'm fine and I'm safe and I'm good right in this moment. Most of the things we're worried about are things in the future or things we're bringing up from the past. Right here, right now, I'm perfectly fine. I have everything I need. All right, and then maybe taking one good full deep breath, allowing yourself to relax again. And then opening the eyes as we finish that meditation. Okay. Again, I welcome your feedback. What was that like? Hopefully that gave you a little bit of experience of trying to touch a feeling or a thought, let it go, come back to the anchor. Okay. So let me know as I move forward, let me know what you think. I left this in here. This is from a previous presentation, but I just kind of wanted to bring it up. 7 Habits of Resilient People. A lot of what we're doing here is we're making ourselves stronger, especially in these kinds of times. So I just thought it would be good to kind of show these, highlight a couple. Of course, what we're doing is we're promoting mind calming and restorative activities with these exercises and practices. I do believe that you can learn to view the future with optimism and hope realistically. Doesn't mean, if you kind of tend towards the pessimistic side, that's okay too. But we can learn to be aware of the thoughts and the negative thought patterns. And you can ask yourself in the moment when that happens, is this working for me? Is this way of thinking my default mode of thinking really? Is this working for me? Am I happy with how this is, making me relate to what's going on? And if not, you can learn to change those thoughts, change your reactions and responses to them, bring in more positivity. We can do a whole thing on gratitude and positive mindset. And that means replacing the negative thoughts with realistic ones. And then the last 4 are all important too. Getting back in touch with your goals, deeply held values, your purpose in life. Like what really matters to you. And what you may notice is the things that really matter to you might get stressed out about. You might get emotional about because they really mean something to you. But then think about how you can sort of work with those emotions with that ruler, for example, or the app or something like that. And then learning from past challenges. That's, I think, a big one also. Commit more self-care and kindness. Yeah, that's a good one, definitely. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you can put in it whether it's a private chat or open to everyone. That's appreciate that. I'm trying to pay more attention to that. So one thing that has come up out of a lot of the groups that I've done is that we have learned some things. through this whole time. And we do realize that we are perhaps more adaptable, more resilient. We're able to recover from things. And I think any of you who are practicing mindfulness, it's going to help. I just know that it's helped me. I know it's going to help because you're more aware of what's going on for yourself. You're more aware of how you've adapted and changed and responded. You're more aware of your thought and your emotional processes. So keep it up. I threw this in here just because I wanted to remind you about 3 breaths for a pause. This is, part of it is the first deep mindful breath, just feeling the breath itself. The second is noticing the body. But the third is really about kind of our emotional state, being kind to ourselves, remembering to take care of ourselves. So important. And that can tie right into our emotional framework. So, perhaps when you notice that you're not feeling so good, that's the time to do an exercise where you bring in that kindness. Now, I also wanted to remind you about informal activities, because you can also bring, when you're doing the hand washing activity, for example, you can remind yourself as you're washing your hands, you can notice what emotions are here. That's a great way to check in with yourself. The basic practice is really feeling the actual soap and the water and the sound of it and the smell of it and all that. But you can also bring awareness to what, just taking that pause. How am I feeling right now? What happened with that last meeting or that last thing that I just did or that email that I got? And do sort of that 3-minute mindfulness check, and breathe and expand and then let it go. Okay, so it's a great way to kind of integrate it with the everyday activities. All right, so this is the final meditation for the refresher today, and this will be a little bit longer. But I think it'll end up being about 7 or 8 minutes. So again, find a position that's comfortable and balanced and relaxed, and closing the eyes or keeping them slightly open if you would prefer. And this is based on the work of Rick Hanson, which I recently listened to this and adapted it a little bit from the Mindfulness Healthcare Summit. And so he says, let's start with 3 breaths. So the first breath, it's sort of like the 3 breaths for a pause, but a little different. The first breath is focus on the body. So nice deep breath. Feel the body. Bring yourself into the body. You're here now in the body. Second breath. Focus on caring for someone. So whoever it is in your life that you're caring for, family member, coworker, friend, pet, anyone, just bring to mind somebody you're caring for and just notice what that feels like as you bring it to mind and to heart. And then the third breath is focus on being cared for. So when someone is caring for you, try to bring that, maybe that same person, when they're caring for you, just be aware of what that feels like and allowing yourself to be cared for, to receiving care and kindness and compassion. Sometimes that's a little harder for us to just notice what that feels like for you. Now we'll move on. We'll move on to the rest. That's just sort of an intro. So we're going to start with the body. So sense your body sitting here, starting with the torso. And so bring your attention and awareness into your whole torso, the left side, the right side, the front, the back, the top, the bottom, inside and out. Just being aware of the whole torso. And you might notice your breathing expressing itself within the torso, the chest movement, the lungs expanding, the rhythm of the breathing. the ribs, the expansion in all directions. You can really feel that. The whole torso really expands in all directions on the in-breath and subsides in all directions on the out-breath. So just feeling that for a moment, just breathing in through the torso. Now allow that awareness to pour down into the legs and feet, just so that you're aware of the lower part of the body. And you can feel that sense of groundedness again, if you like, with your feet. And then allow your awareness to pour up into your shoulders and your arms and your head and your neck, the whole upper part of your body. So just kind of checking that out, just seeing what's there. And as we do this, just again, observing what you notice. We're not needing to fix anything or do anything about any of this. We're just noticing in the body what's here and now. And now, having done that, again, kind of grounding ourselves, allowing your awareness to loosen and relax and to let things come to the surface, to bubble up. Thoughts, emotions, perhaps even things that have been troubling us. These things have been necessarily pushed to the background to get through the day, but for now, in this brief time, allowing them to come forward. Maintaining awareness of the body and allowing things to flow through you, through this open space of awareness. Any stresses, any worries, anything. Staying in touch with the breathing. Allowing all these kinds of reactions to bubble up and then letting go of them. See if you can do that. See if you can let them come and go. Almost in a sense, letting them drain right out of the body. Or another way to think of it is they're passing through this open space like storm clouds passing through the open sky of our awareness. Drifting across our awareness and then out and away. And when it feels right, we can shift our focus from releasing to receiving. Whatever might feel comforting, supportive, hopeful, or beneficial at this time. Allowing this message of comfort and support to be there for you. And as we do this receiving, we can also have a sense of compassion for those who are burdened by this time. Sending them our good wishes for being safe and healthy and well. Anyone you're thinking of, you can always do this. You can breathe in a message of comfort for yourself and breathe out to others. It's a good way to balance it if you like. And we can also receive into ourselves a feeling of acceptance for the way it is. Not that we prefer it, but that we recognize the reality of it, accepting it if we can, focusing on surrender. It is the way it is, not resisting. We can still do all we can to change it while still accepting it is the way it is. Letting whatever is happening happen and go on happening. And welcoming whatever it is. Letting go into the present moment by surrendering to its content, whatever is here right now. Now, at any time, you can come back to your breath as an anchor, feeling the breath again, feeling the breath in the torso and the chest or wherever you feel it. You can also feel the anchor of the body, feet, torso in the chair. And we'll take a final minute here before we finish and allow whatever it is that's been helpful here to sink in. So just reflecting back, whatever it is that's been helpful here to perhaps allow and accept, or to be present in the body, or to receive care, or to give care. Just allowing that to sink in into your being. And with that, we'll just return our focus back to the body in the chair and see if you'd like to bring this quality of awareness to the next activities of your day as we finish that meditation. Opening the eyes, and you might want to move a little bit or stretch a little bit, whatever. So in the last minute or so, just to kind of point this out, you've seen this before, I think most of you, this cartoon. With emotions and thoughts awareness, it's not so much that we clear the mind as in the right-hand side, but we don't let the left-hand side, the cluttering of the worries and stresses and those kinds of negativity overtake us. In other words, become our autopilot or our default mode. So in the right-hand bubble of the thought bubble of the dog, you could insert thoughts, emotions, and just allowing them to be as they are. As you are present, as you are in the moment. Okay? So you see how that works? You sort of stay grounded. At the same time, allow things to bubble up, be aware of them. You can let them go and just increase that level of awareness. So I'll put this up here. These are links that go back to our website. There is the RAIN meditation on thoughts and emotions, and the 3-minute breathing space. But any comments, any last questions or thoughts on how that meditation was, or any feedback about anything that we've covered today? I know we kind of covered a lot, and this 45 minutes always goes so quickly. All right, that was great. Much needed as always. Thank you, Andy. Thank you very much. Jim, when you get a chance. Okay, yes, okay, I will refresh you on the EFR website. So go back, I'll try to remember to do this right after I sign off. I'll put a PDF of the slides right on the invite so that you can just go open that up again and download it, and you'll have the links. All these links go back to our website. In fact, the next slide shows that. No, I lied, it doesn't. The next slide doesn't show that. This is the phone meditations to remind you of. I think you know about that. This next slide does have information on our EFR, and it's this website here, achievesolutions.net/YNHHS. That's the one where you can find the all the meditations online. All right, I think there's one more question. Or great, wonderful, re-engaging. Thank you all. Nice to check in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Another great session. Thank you. If you have any thoughts about what I can do, or what I don't know, what you want me to focus on, let me know. I'm happy to try to create something or customize something. So thank you all for being here. Let me say this. I wish you safety. I wish you good health. May you have mindful moments of peace and acceptance as we go through this, and really appreciate you all coming back and being with me in these webinars, and hope you have a great day and a wonderful weekend. Take good care. Bye-bye.